Hi guys, I'm Adam Wilborn from WhatCulture.
And I'm Andy Murray from WhatCulture, and in the words of Kendrick Lamar, life ain't shh, but a fat man from China.
I was worried for a split second there. Coming up today is another team being sent back to NXT.
We have an update on Jon Moxley versus Kenny Omega and when that might actually happen.
Another injury potentially ruling someone out of AEW's All Out pay-per-view.
And finally, clarification on how AEW will precisely crown their first women's champion.
This is the news.
We are going to kick things off with a little Raw roundup as we usually do on a Tuesday morning.
Vince McMahon hates tag teams.
Yes, that he does, because we have a rather interesting set of title matches confirmed for Clash of Champions on September 15th. So before we dive into tag team stuff, although they're kind of tied together, let's talk about Braun Strowman versus Seth Rollins Universal Championship, as was originally rumored, I think about a week ago. That match is going down. This came about as part of a backstage segment, a rather pensive backstage segment in which Rollins and Strowman, who are the Raw Tag Team Champions, were kind of like talking back and forth. They were talking about the contendership match that had been set up for later in the evening. But Braun was like, hey, well, I mean, I'm still going to challenge for your Universal title because it's the Universal title. And Rollins was like, hey, man, I don't back down from the challenge, so let's burn it down. So that match is set. It's happening at Clash of Champions, but it won't be their only match at that very pay-per-view, because Braun Strowman and Seth Rollins will be defending the Raw Tag Team titles earlier in the night against The Revival, no, the OC, no, the Viking Raiders, B-Team, Ryder and Hawkins, no. They're defending the belts against bloody Bobby Roode, Robert Roode, and Dolph Ziggler, because...
Inexplicable. They had the largest ever tag team turmoil match on Monday Night Raw last night. And like Andy said, if you'd have let me bet beforehand, I'd have said, well, it's probably just going to be the OC because, you know, rematch, then you can just put the titles back on them and have, you know, the OC holding all the gold, etc., etc. All right, maybe it can't be them. What about the Viking Raiders? They've been on an absolute tear. They'd be, you know, they're ready and waiting to finally ascend to actual wrestling normal tag teams now, just running through people week after week after week, put the titles on them, let them have a really big, exciting title reign. Oh, not them, okay, maybe the Revival. No, just a team who've just chucked together, who apparently have more, you know, cohesiveness than any other tag team in the entire division.
They're both heels, so hey, they should be a unit. It's weird. It's kind of like an extension of one of my least favorite tropes in wrestling is the all-star duo teaming up. A couple of guys who have no chemistry and no real history together, teaming up and beating like an established tag team who've been doing it for years and know how each other work and stuff. And this was kind of like the ultimate form of that because they beat 4 teams in that match. Granted, one of them was the bloody Lucha House Party, but you know, it's a really weird piece of booking. That being said, I think the Clash of Champions booking is actually quite intriguing as a result of this, because you have this tag title match. I mean, yeah, I would have preferred like the Revival or someone in there, but you have this title match and then you have the partners colliding in the main event. Still a lot of ambiguity.
Well, Dolph Ziggler said in a backstage interview, will clearly be going on after the Universal Championship match. I'll bet that doesn't happen, Dolph.
Yes, because he skews your shoe. I don't know why I said that in my set voice, but never mind.
No, it looks good, the card, to be fair.
Yeah, it looks all right.
But a bit of an update now for you on the Viking Raiders. As we mentioned, they were part of that tag team turmoil match, and they were taken out of it via bollocks. Them and the OC had a double disqualification because they couldn't stop bloody fighting. And now it is being reported, well, not being reported, it's being sort of speculated online that they could be returning to NXT. There was a promo posted on WWE's YouTube channel after all that, where they said, in a very angry way, we're going to take out every single team we can find. We don't care if it's Raw, SmackDown, or NXT. No one is safe. So a lot of speculation online after that they could be sent back to NXT. Now, they've had an interesting time on Monday Night Raw, just running through goobers left, right, and centre, but they haven't really challenged for the titles, and WWE weren't sure whether they were heel or face initially. They clearly seem to be leaning more towards a heelish team now, but yeah, the rumours that they could be sent back to NXT, which is, I mean, yet another indictment of that call-up process.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, this, because, you know, the Viking Raiders have come up to the main roster. They were immediately buried with that Viking experience nonsense. But you can say they've been misused because they've had all these squash matches, but they haven't really gotten anywhere. They haven't had the storyline. They haven't had any significant matches. But the win-loss record is obviously amazing. So it's like, a really strange situation for a couple of guys who, in their last match the takeover match, Ricochet and Aleister Black, looked like they were finally being set up as the doyens of this division, as the kingpins. Then they were thrown on the main roster, and it's just kind of been weird since then. So you're absolutely right. It's a really, really damning indictment of the call-up system if these guys have to go back 4 months or 5 months after coming to the main roster. It's really quite terrible that they haven't been able to find something to do with these boys.
Guess more people should have joined the raid.
Very straightforward. But, after talking about that, we're going to pivot over to AEW, who have a little show going on Saturday night. All Out takes place, looking pretty good. First champion to be crowned, Paige and Jericho, cool. Although we had some pretty disappointing news over the weekend with the cancellation of Jon Moxley versus Kenny Omega due to Jon Moxley picking up a staph infection. Moxley was able to work against Pentagon Jr. for NEW the week before, but he had to pull out of the match. He announced it on Twitter. AEW were very quick to announce that Pac would be replacing him.
Good replacement.
Interesting situation there. But, it's not often that we indulge in it's a work theories here. But Dave Meltzer on Wrestling Observer Radio is reporting that AEW will look to rebook this match as soon as Moxley is fit and able, because the silver lining of this whole thing is that, it gives AEW a program. They can work towards it on TV, they can build up for the next pay-per-view. It's not necessarily a disaster because All Out was already sold out, so it's fine in a way. But, interestingly, Meltzer speculates that Moxley versus Omega, in some form, might actually happen on AEW's debut TV show. So, on AEW's TV show at the moment, we have The Elite, Kenny Omega, and the Young Bucks facing off against Chris Jericho and two mystery partners. One of whom could be Jon Moxley. So, was this whole thing set up in the first place as a work?
I've had to hand in my It's a Work badge. As soon as I matched opinions with Vince Russo, I had to say, all the whole Jon Moxley leaving WWE is a work thing. It was fun while it lasted.
It was
like
good.
we were saying before this started, I could have had an absolute field day with this. Jon Moxley pulling out of one of the biggest matches for AEW shows a week before the show. Ooh, that's unlucky, isn't it? But I can't say that because Vince Russo, as he does with literally everything, ruined it.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not a work. I'm just being a fanny before the comment section chime in. But
Don't steal my gimmick.
I'm sorry, brother. Pattern appropriation is theft. Also on Wrestling Observer newsletter, I'm actually going to take this off.
I can smell your head cooking under
I was going to say,
like
how
chicken.
you cook a chicken in tinfoil? That's what this is like under these studio lights. Also on Wrestling Observer Radio, Melty goes on and he talks about how Pac might have been intended to do a run-in at All Out regardless, so it was a convenient little way to set things up. Conspiracy theorists will have a lot of fun with this, but I'm just kind of hoping that Moxley is healed up and so forth. I was really looking forward to that match. It's a shame we're not getting it now, but with several weeks of TV build, with a longer storyline, I think it might be even better.
Yeah, I think there's some good stuff there, and it is a real shame, but interesting whether they decide to hold that off till the next pay-per-view or, pop a TV rating, because we're already speculating big things for them. Some more bad news for AEW, though, when it comes to All Out, as reported by Dave Meltzer again on the Wrestling Observer radio show over the weekend. Rey Fénix has been injured whilst wrestling at an indie show on Friday. Now, he did make the rest of his bookings over the weekend on Saturday and Sunday, but he was very limited in what he could do. Now, the nature and extent of his injury is not yet known, but of course, Fénix and Pentagon are set to meet the Young Bucks in a AAA World Tag Team Championship ladder match at All Out on Saturday. Worrying times for AEW and that card.
Yeah, it's really that these things are all happening one after the other in such close proximity is kind of troubling, particularly as this is a goddamn ladder match, and Rey Fénix is well known for falling off and flipping off and landing on things.
Unreal at double.
He is one of the foremost flippity days in the world today. He's phenomenal. If he's just going to be restricted to kind of walking around and brawling, that's a real bummer. But they still have three of the most creative, four if you include Fénix, of course, three of the most creative minds in the game, really, in that ring. The Young Bucks are going to come up with something cool regardless. Pentagon will definitely land on his head about 7 times and probably shorten his career by about 5 minutes every time he does it. I think they can probably still do something with this, but it is a bit of a shame to hear that Phoenix might be working in a limited capacity. So let's hope, fingers crossed, that he heals up.
Cody frantically texting Jericho. Mind how you go, mate.
Yeah.
Take care of yourself this week.
Yeah, don't be drinking that vodka before the show, brother. Look out. And finally, another piece. Well, it's not really. I shouldn't be saying that for the last. No, come on, Andy. Get your act together, Murray. It's the first working day of the week. Another update for AEW with regards to the women's title, again from Dave Meltzer, talking about how we already knew that the Casino Battle Royale winner was going to face off against someone else for the AEW women's title on the first TV episode, which is 2nd of October. We now know that the winner of Riho versus Hikaru Shida on the main card will be the second person in that match. So interesting stuff there. Good to see them getting the Joshi wrestlers involved in the title scene straight away. And interestingly, we already know that the first title defense is going to be on the 16th of October. So AEW are setting out a blueprint for their women's title going forward. And hopefully that should make up for the presentation of the women's division so far, which hasn't been ideal despite some real banger matches. So fingers crossed.
It's almost like planning ahead with titles is a good idea. Let's move on to your Twitter questions at WhatCulture WWE. Of course, if you want to get in touch, we'll start with Matt from the Zone, who says, it turns out it took 2 weeks for Sasha Banks' hype to burn out. Not really surprised, no crowd buying at all. Side note, Natty is overrated. He messages a couple of weeks ago, of course, asking us how long we thought it would take for that hype to die off. And a bit of a dead crowd on Raw last night.
Yeah, it was really quite dismal, but Natalya once again proving herself. Nobody is a more effective bucket of cold water over the top of someone's heat than Natalya. The Becky Lynch program was all right, some good stuff in there, but I really question WWE's logic in kind of pairing Sasha with Natty as like a precursor to Becky.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand. I mean, the crowd was rubbish last night in terms of reactions to that. But I think if you can just move on from the whole Natty feud now. Look, she's attacked her, she's injured her arm some more, and then she went back post-match on last night's Raw, of course, and tortured her a little bit more with this sadistic grin on her face. Just have it be between Becky and Sasha now. That's what you need going forward. You've got, 3 weeks till Clash of Champions. Just focus on that. And I still believe that they can do some exciting things with Sasha. Because the promo she opened the show with, I enjoyed. And I still think there's hope for her. If you can bounce her off Becky, those two Twitter games alone should be able to carry it. But on the mic, they should be absolutely stellar. For sure. But yeah, just don't use it. Ash Beckman Whelan gives us our second question today. He says, what can WWE possibly do to #push the tag team division back to a respectable level after the burial it's seen in the last 8 days?
There's loads they could do. They could have all these great matches and build great storylines and push the right guys and, give the Revival a spotlight and all this other cool stuff. But the thing is, Vince McMahon just absolutely hates tag team wrestling. So, we could sit and fancy book stuff and it would be a lot of fun, but he's not going to do it because he hates it. And that's basically it.
Yeah, I don't know, maybe. Hey, I've got an idea. How about having tag teams win rather than random groups of wrestlers just chucked together because you haven't got anything for them? Yeah. Just an idea. Because I wasn't wholly against the Seth Rollins, Braun Strowman win the titles thing. I just thought, we'll probably put it on a proper tag team when they inevitably lose it because of miscommunication or turning on each other or whatever at Clash of Champions. And now they've gone, just another 2 random wrestlers who may not even win the titles back.
They've gone full Vince with this, haven't they?
Anyway, final question today, we sort of answered already, is from Rahul Ambakar, who says, do you think Jon Moxley's injury is a work?
Nah, I love having fun with a tinfoil hat and stuff, but nah. Because I'm a big bad wrestling hipster, I watched the Pentagon match that he had while injured the other week. It's on YouTube if you want to check it out. It's pretty good. But you can see that he's clearly limited in what he can do. There's a lot of crowd brawling, which allows him to hide and stuff. There's no real bumps on his arm or anything like that. He's clearly kind of struggling. I think anyone who watches that match might come to the same conclusion. Although, the work theory is lots of fun and this is a good prop.
I wouldn't rule out an appearance at All Out, I think is the best way to put it.
No, I would be very surprised if he didn't show up.
But good news, as I've already confirmed in the past, CM Punk is definitely going to be attacking someone at All Out or appearing or something.
Conrad.
It's going to happen.
He's attacking Conrad.
Let's move on to today's and finally, and it's a bit of a self-indulgent one, this, but I think we could be millionaires as a result of it. I
I
want to point out this tweet that I got yesterday, I think, from Steve Mack, who says, I feel like WhatCulture are missing a trick by not releasing an Adam Wilborn soundboard app with all of his wrestling impressions. So I thought, before I ask them, I'm going to ask you, if I release that app and charge like £1 for it, would you buy it? You can have all your favourite impressions on there. Maybe, I don't know, DLC content from Simon Miller. What do you reckon?
Even though I'm like working in this office, I have the option of just kind of hoying across the office and giving you a nudge anytime I want an impression. I would absolutely pay for that. Who wouldn't?
Just imagine that and your big group of friends. Oh, that's a good idea. In fact, that sounds... Oh, I got it!
Hello?
Imagine that. Let us know in the comment section below if you'd be interested in something like that. No. But let us know. And let us know your thoughts on all today's news stories in the comment section below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And make sure you subscribe to WhatCulture Wrestling on either iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts from for daily wrestling podcasts, including the news. We always post it up there. So if you want it whilst you're out and about on the go, if you can't catch the video, make sure you subscribe for that. And send us Twitter questions at WhatCultureWWE. Watch there. Follow both of us. You can follow him at
Andy H. Murray. The H stands for Herb.
You can follow me at Adam Wilborn. You can follow us all at WhatCultureWWE. As I said, my thanks to Andy Murray. Thank you for watching, and we will see you soon.